I will first have the honor of inviting Monsieur le Président de la République Emmanuel Macron and Monsieur le Ministre JP Nadda for the traditional lighting ceremony. And I will invite Honorable Minister JP Nadda to take down a seat while we start the conversation. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Monsieur le Président de la République, Honorable Minister of Health and Family Welfare, dear JP Nadda, dear Minister Delegate in charge of Artificial Intelligence and Digital Affairs, chère Anne, dear Minister Delegate in charge of Francophonie, International Partnerships, and French Citizens Abroad, chère Eleonore, dear Secretary to Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Madame Punya Salila Srivastava, sorry in advance for my Indian friends if I don't pronounce the names correctly. Dear Secretary of Departments of Science and Technology, dear Abhay Karandikar, dear Secretary of the Department of Biotechnology, Dr. Rajesh Gokhale, dear Member of the French Parliament, cher Anne Gente, dear Ambassador of France to India, cher Thierry Matou, dear Ambassador of India to France and Monaco, Shri Sanjeev Kumar Singla, dear Special Envoy of the French President for AI, cher Anne Bouvreau, Honorable Directors of AIMS Delhi, dear Professor Srinivas, thank you so much for welcoming us to the most prestigious hospital in India. Honorable, yeah, you can give a round of applause for that. Honorable Chairman of the Rush, dear Thierry Coulon and Vijay Raghavan, thank you for hosting this event and making it such an unforgettable moment. We can also give them a round of applause. But now you started, so. Dear President of Universities, Deans of Faculties, Directors of Scientific and Research Institutions, dear CEOs, Head of Companies, dear students from AIMS, some of you are behind us, and other high-level institutions, distinguished guests, mesdames, messieurs. So welcome here at Rush. It's probably the most ambitious ever academic and scientific event that was decided, organized, made together with a French and Indian twist. Rush was actually launched this morning, as I shared, by our two chairmen, Thierry Coulon and Vijay Raghavan. And it's a flagship event of the India-France Year of Innovation that you launched, Mr. President, yesterday with Prime Minister Modi. It is addressing one ambition, deepening our long-standing partnership in the areas of innovation, of AI, health, and academic mobility by 2047. We are gathered here today on the sidelines of another event, which I think I've been keeping our Indian friends quite busy, the AI Impact Summit, of course. This summit is a key international event to address the opportunities and challenges caused by AI. And it happens to be just 1 year after we hosted our Paris AI Action Summit, dear Anne. And we are very glad to be here to celebrate this event with you here in Delhi. Today's conversation should allow us to address our relationship, France and India, is key for sharing our knowledge, our talents, our capabilities, but also our values when it comes to embracing the AI revolution. Monsieur le Président, Your presence today here at AIMS is a unique opportunity to advance the international conversation on AI, which is a topic that I know you have very strong stance on. We are honored, as you see, to be joined on stage by two amazing talents. First, Dr. Priyanka Das Rajkakati and Mr. Manan Suri. Those two brilliant Indian talents whose careers actually illustrate the partnership between France and India. Dear Priyanka, you are a renowned aerospace researcher, specializing in remote sensing applied to hydrology, but also a talented artist who draws inspiration from your scientific career to offer a fusion between art and space. You left India at the age of 21 to study at École Polytechnique, probably one of the best schools in France, but I cannot say the best because there are too many people from universities here. I'm going to get in trouble. But it is the best. And now live in Toulouse, but remain very close to India. Dear Manan, you're a professor at IIT Delhi and founder of Siren AI Solutions, a deep tech company. You have created key technologies in the field of semiconductors and unconventional computer hardware. Having achieved your PhD in France as well, in Grenoble, and worked at the CNRS, you are also strongly connected to France. No formal speech, no official statements. We'll have a dynamic conversation today, which I'm obviously happy to open with the first question. So, Priyanka Manan, I think everyone in the room has seen how much you share with India and France. You both happen to have studied in France. Given this particular experience, given your background, and given the fact that we agreed the whole day that we can only build AI technologies if we do it together, what do you think we should do to reinforce the partnership between France and India to strengthen our bilateral cooperation? And I'll start with you, Manan, because you've experienced both sides, and maybe you can tell us a little bit more about this experience.
Thank you, Clara, Your Excellency, and all the respected French officials, delegates, and Indian friends. So I did my PhD in France. I started in 2010. I moved to France from the US. One of the key reasons why I chose the French option was because it was highly interdisciplinary, and it brought various different stakeholders at an intersection. So we had academics, we had industry, scientific labs, all of them fusing into a single PhD. So that was a key motivation. It was quite interdisciplinary. Coming back to your question on what we must do, I think the most important aspect here is the grassroots connect, the individual connect. I'll just give you an example. It's been 13 years since I have left France and back in India. And we have toiled to do many different partnerships. In our group, we work with Sewa, Leti, Sewa, List, Paris-Saclay, IMS Bordeaux, University of Lille. And you will be amazed to know that all this work is without any formal funding. It's just one-to-one researcher connect. So if the grassroots connect is strong, it just drives everything. So as much grassroots level researcher or innovator connect we have, it helps.
Thank you. What about you, Priyanka? Thank you for sharing this experience. Why actually did you choose France? And, what are the key assets that the French-Indian scientific cooperation can build on?
So I have a little story. So I'm actually an artist masquerading as a scientist. Because for me, science, just like AI, it's a tool, It's a tool for achieving something. And I think the difference between a researcher and an artist is that research helps you explore something, but an artist strives to deliver. So to get that end product. So for me, that's why I insist on being recognized as an artist. And I think for me, France was a very, very normal choice because it was firstly my third or fourth language in school. So in India, we have fourth and fifth languages. And then I went and did physics from St. Stephen's, and it's École Polytechnique, which came to recruit foreign students. And I went on to do a PhD in space science from Supero. And I always felt that the artistic side is what really helps connect. It's the emotional connection which, we can leverage as scientists to speak about our technology and make the end user understand it better. And what better place than France, which is known for both, the Eiffel Tower, but also some of the famous artists, some of the famous designers. And for me, that was a natural choice. And for the collaboration, I think what we're doing here is a very good example. I'm also here to represent Business France delegation for Vortex.io, where I'm working today. And that was also a very good example of how, we are exposing two sides to each other's cultures. And I think that's very important. So culture being a keyword.
Thank you. Do you want to add up to that part of the conversation, Mr. President, and to how do you think we should reinforce this collaboration?
Thank you very much. And I'm very honored and happy to be here with the delegation. I recognize a lot of friendly faces and very familiar people here, and a lot of potential new friends. We will be debriefed about Rush and the whole initiative by the two co-chairs. But I think what's important to me to convey as well, on top of Rush and this cooperation between high schools, universities, research centers, and so on, it's about exchanging more between our students. And both of you are, you had a PhD, if I understand properly. You did a PhD as well. But it's very important for us to welcome more Indian students and to have more French students coming here. We speak about 10,000 per year, more or less. It depends on the season. Sometimes people tell me it's 9,300. Sometimes my ambassador told me it's 11,000. So it should be around 10,000 per year. Okay. We decided with Prime Minister Modi to have 30,000 by 2030. It's largely feasible. Largely feasible. On the French side, we have to simplify, and we will simplify, our sourcing, and as well as a visa facility. To have a visa which, meets the expectation of the students and is appropriate. For instance, if you have a PhD, I don't know how many years it took for you, 3 years, somebody. So if I give you a visa for 1 year, I'm a little bit crazy. I create a sort of uncertainty, and probably we deliver the visa for 1 year, and you have to renew it, and so on. So it's not optimal. So on the French side, we will clearly streamline this approach in order to have something which meets the expectations and is much more practicable for the students and the schools. And by Rush, precisely, we will establish better connections in order to have a better sourcing. Because India, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, was not the #1 source of students. Let's be honest. So I want our universities and high school to do much more, but we will do as well much more in terms of administrative facilities. At the same time, I want all the Indian students to be sure that if you come to France, you have the best-in-class teaching, you have access to the research centers, and exactly the ecosystem you mentioned. With a lot of interdisciplinarity, you have, if you study in AI, you can have both, obviously, data scientists, mathematicians, you can have fundamental research with clearly the interaction with startups, but you can have as well interdisciplinarity with philosophy and other disciplines, because it's super important to have the model of AI we do believe in. And this is exactly what we have on our campus. And I want you to be sure that you can have all your different lessons, your approach, in English. Because I know that sometimes they're still exchanging with a lot of students. They say, I will not join France. I don't have a sufficient level in French language. No. You can come for a PhD, even for a master degree, and you will be teaching French, in English, sorry. Obviously, you can learn French in parallel, but you will be educated and you will have all the facilities in English. And it's very important to have that in mind, to convey to all the students here in India that we do have these facilities and this access. And my last point, because sometimes there is a source of misunderstandings, I'm making my pitch for attracting more Indian students, as you see. It's a strange argument, but in France, the cost of studies is largely less expensive than in a lot of other countries. It's not the signal, it's bad quality. I'm serious. I had a lot of students saying to me, okay, it's almost for zero. It should be a terrible level of quality. Because everywhere in the rest of the world, you have to pay a lot of money to have 1 year. It's our, I would say, collective choice in France. The taxpayer contributes much more than the student. It's more fair. You can have some contributions are non-French students, but it's much more limited than in the equivalent Anglo-Saxon universities. So we can ask for some fees. It depends, and I think it's good that each university and each high school has its own model and will be free to have its own model. But we are very far from the level of fees in the Anglo-Saxon universities. But just take it as a collective choice, but not the signal that there is a lower quality. It's not true at all. The government is paying for the difference. This is my clarification after several interactions with students. So I clearly invite much more Indian students to come at master or for a PhD and to share the experience you had, because I really believe that we can provide a unique experience, and you pitched France much better than I could do.
I hope some of the students sitting behind us got convinced. And thank you. We're going to count how many of you we take back in the plane. Great, thank you, Mr. President. I mean, obviously, this is the AI Impact Summit, and everything we shared is particularly true when it comes to AI, because as you rightly said, one of the reasons you came to France is because you have such an interdisciplinary approach, and when we think about AI, there's probably not single technology that is so interdisciplinary. So this week is the AI Impact Summit. And I think we had discussions here today, but all around the city about how AI is a technology that basically we only get probably once a century. That changes everything from the way we learn, from the way we get informed, from the way we cure disease. We're in one of the most prestigious hospitals here. It changes the way we interact. It changes the way we access information. And as such, it can only be dealt when we bring a lot of different stakeholders in one room. And that's what we're doing with the AI Summit we did in Paris and that India is doing now. When you're thinking about AI, and you both work in AI, and I know you have this idea in mind on where you want to bring AI, and this is something we concretely share with our Indian friends. This is too much of an important technology to just be developed in the hands of a few companies. We need to think how we develop it with public good interest. And I know you both care about this topic very much. So maybe starting with Manan, based on your work, what would be your advice to this room, scientists here, but also people from the government, people from all around the world who are gathered in Delhi, so make sure that we continue trying and pushing AI in the interest of public good, which was a key theme of our AI Paris Summit as well.
Sure. So, we can just talk endlessly about AI, but I'll focus more on, something which is relevant for this discourse. So we have to see that as AI matures, as it becomes more and more useful, it will be adopted more. It will be consumed more. And if it is being consumed more and we are really serious about its social good, then it has to become more sustainable. It has to become more energy efficient. It has to become more green. So that is something that, at least in our work, we try to closely focus on, because we work on things like next forms of computing, semiconductor devices which take less energy. So, neuromorphic computing, bio-inspired computing. The essence here is that we need to cut down the power budget or the energy budget that AI systems consume. And I think, at least in the Indo-French context, this has a lot of relevance because both countries have strong commitment to AI for the wider good and also for sustainability. And, with our French partners, we are working extensively on building low energy AI systems. The work is quite complementary, just how the cultures are complementary. they work more on new materials. We work more on building systems with those materials or algorithms with those materials, which are more energy efficient. So if you ask me to summarize, I would say that sustainable AI or getting the AI systems to be more green, more sustainable is what would make it enduring and what it would take to much larger scale of impact.
And what we can do together.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Priyanka, do you want to add up to that topic as well?
Yes, thank you for the question. And just to add to Manan, so AI for good, because AI, let's be honest, it's machine learning and among other forms of training data. And at the base, it's very, very technical. So it might actually scare people. So we need some mechanisms that, on one side, you're able to destigmatize this fear of technology and people not knowing what is behind. Even for us scientists, sometimes we're like, okay, what's behind this model? You know? And so on the sustainability aspect, it's also, we are training large amounts of data, but is it better to, focus on certain aspects? And that really depends on regulatory access, to the different data sets that we have. For example, we work on flood early warning systems, and I'm heading international strategy for this company. And so when we are doing transboundary training, how do we get access to that data? Even if we cross-collaborate with research teams, so we require the help of policymakers to make sure that the access to that data is fluid, so that we have more parameters that can help us with our training.
Thank you. Manan, you're also a professor, and so one of the aspects I know you're thinking about a lot is the impact of AI on your students.